My name is Daniel Dazi, and in our first story, Ghana's COVID-19 case count now stands at 52. This was revealed by the Minister for Health. The latest 25 cases were among those who arrived in the country and put in mandatory quarantine.
Out of the 185 test results received, we have 25 of those quarantined tested positive. If we add on to the earlier number of 27, it means we have 52 tested positive in our country at the moment. Those in quarantine, we have actually deployed psychologists to have chats with them. We have also, in the process of handing them over to our case management teams, we have set up. And they have started taking them to isolated centers for case management, meaning treatment. Definitely, not all of them will be critically ill, and they are not. Some might not be ill at all, but decisions on them will be on individual case management issue. If you are not even found to be ill, you still have to stay in quarantine for the mandatory 14 days. Earlier on, we were getting indications like if you test negative, we may release you after 4 days. But on advice, technical advice, and we've met all the doctors, we cannot do that. So we'll have to keep you for the entire 2 weeks, which is the 14 days. We have adequate room in Accra, various centers, to actually take care of all those that have been tested positive at the moment. But going forward, we have a team that is going around identifying places that we can set aside for isolation for case management, not only in Accra. What we have identified so far is that we can describe 2 areas in Ghana now as our own epicenters, Accra and Tema together, and Kumasi. We are doing what we describe as contact tracing. In Accra, we have deployed 98 field officers, epidemiologists, and community health officers that have been trained to be doing the tracing. And it looks like we are actually succeeding in getting to people. In Kumasi, we have deployed about 50 trained people who are also doing contact tracing. The advice I will give now, by this evidence, is the fact that wherever we are, all those of our brothers and sisters who have come in, we should advise them to put themselves in self-quarantine if we haven't tried them yet. And they should also be talking to the health authorities in the area where they live to send teams to observe them. They can be calling on telephone and be describing their conditions to the health officers they get in touch with, so that we can protect the rest of the population against community spread, that is the horizontal spread we are seeing in our country at the moment.
The National Security Secretariat, meanwhile, has outlined protocols for those in mandatory quarantine. 1,030 people are currently in mandatory quarantine, and they will be made reasonably comfortable.
Prior to arrival at KIA, the Kuteka International Airport, the pilot informs passengers of government-imposed mandatory quarantine. Subsequent to that, the immigration officials board the aircraft that come onto our tarmac or arrive in Ghana to confirm if passengers have been rightly informed. Now, if they have not, they pass on information to passengers before their disembarkation. 3, At the arrival hall, port health officials are the first in line to meet these arriving passengers and conduct medical screening of the entire passengers that alight. Point number 4. Passengers then move to complete their immigration formalities. Point 5. Whilst all this is going on, the airport announcements keep blaring and visiting repeated announcements of the need to observe social distances, just as we in this assembly here have observed some good social distance. Now, at that stage, the information on mandatory quarantine is again re-echoed to all passengers. Passengers move to the carousel thereafter to collect their luggage and wait until they are called to board their buses. The passengers return back through immigration, port health, and then drop their luggage in a conveyor belt. To show irritation and to show some kind of stress. The information can be distressing. And so, in pursuance of that, we have also gotten on board a number of psychologists. As I speak, or as we meet here in this assembly, there are a number of them that are actually proceeding, visiting the various facilities around the places that we have quarantined. Now, Honorable Minister, we, on our part, the security agencies will do everything in our might to ensure that those in quarantine are reasonably comfortable. It's a duty thrust that we will execute well. However, we urge them to also be cooperative with the officials and with all those kinds of persons that come into contact with them that are in the nature of medics, in the nature of security, also psychologists, both in their own interest and also in the larger interest of our country. I think that is a very great civic obligation which they have. For now, we will accommodate all those things and persuade them to be able to come to terms with the period of quarantine.
Now, the Immigration Service has meanwhile reported cases of people who were accosted trying to enter the country. Deputy Comptroller General Lord Dofori Frifa spoke at the press briefing.
Check on his passport revealed that he had flown in through USA. Ethiopia Airlines continues to fly to Lome. So we are watching that border post very closely because that is where we are seeing the tendency of persons moving through. And significantly, this Ghanaian is a medical doctor. We expected him to know better. The other two are Ivorians. They all hired vehicles from the Aflao border and were moving to Accra. The drivers and the vehicles have also been arrested, and they are all being sent into mandatory quarantine. And thereafter, the issue of prosecution will be considered. From Elubu this morning, 21 persons have also been arrested attempting to enter illegally. 5 Ghanaians, 9 Beninois, 3 Nigerians, a Malian, and 3 Ivorians. They have been sent back, but the Ghanaians have been retained and are being sent into mandatory quarantine. From our northern borders, totally shut. There have been attempts by Nigerians and Burkinabes to travel out of the country in buses. They have been stopped. Honorable Minister, ladies and gentlemen, we want to send a word of caution to our border communities and the transporters. We are not in normal times. So the manner they've been operating in conspiring to smuggle people in and out of the country should cease. The border communities form a critical part of our border management strategy. We expect them at this time to cooperate with the security agencies. They should rather inform us of illegal entries rather than aiding them. When the coronavirus hits, it will hit them too, and it will start from them.
The director of the Noguchi Center for Medical Research says Ghanaians should be worried following the death of a second person to coronavirus. According to him, the developments present a clear challenge for the country in stopping further spread of the virus, which is wreaking havoc globally. In an exclusive interview with my colleague Elton Brobe, Professor Abraham Kobna Annan proposed testing and lockdown of communities, adding the days to follow present clear danger for the country.
Community transmission, that is transmission within. And with that one means also that we have to escalate everything, even including testing. And the government is actually on top of it because the government has given various measures, providing guidance as to how, as a nation, we should proceed. Apart from giving certain measures to limit, gatherings and crowds and things, it's also issued measures to ensure that even those who are coming from outside are quarantined and tested. And as we speak, through that mechanism, we have had hundreds of samples from travelers who are coming into Ghana, and we have upscaled our testing. And this is ongoing, and the results, we are using the channels that have been established by the nation. Already the Ministry of Health, interministerial, partnerships have been created, and we have the Ministry of Health working with the others, including the Ministry of Information, and with the Ministry of Information being in the forefront to communicate the results to the public and to the, to Ghanaians in general. Okay. So this system is working very well for us, and we have capacity to test. Initially, we were testing far below our capacity because we were testing in the tens and not even in the hundreds. Now we are in the hundreds. In actual fact, as an institute, we have the capacity to test about 1,000 samples per day. That can be per day.
But let me ask you, so far, Ghana, according to the Ghana Health Service, we have 27 confirmed cases. Yesterday, we were told of a second death, which brings the number to 2.
Yes.
Now, the director, the presidential advisor on health says that they've traced over 1,000 people whom they are monitoring as far as the COVID-19 is concerned. As a Ghanaian, should I be worried and should I, entertain fear as we record more deaths?
Yeah, this is a very nice question. Yes, you should be worried, but remember one thing. Health is not just a physical well-being. It is physical and psychological well-being. So much as we should be worried in the sense that we should identify that there is a challenge. And then we should then channel our energies and resources into using the methods, the approaches, the tools we have to be able to mitigate the challenge, to stop the spread of COVID. So really, we should not be afraid. As for fear, is an enemy. If anybody is afraid, it weakens all of us. Especially if you were to get infected, diagnosed to be positive with COVID-19. The last thing you should do is to be afraid. You shouldn't be afraid because it can be managed.
Some say that this week and next week is actually crucial for Ghana. Yes. Why is it so?
Yeah, this week and next week are extremely crucial because we need to take a very important decision. The decision is concerning whether to lock down or not to lock down. But you see, to lock down or not to lock down, it depends on so many factors.
Now, Deputy Attorney General Godfred Yeboah-Dame is urging an Accra High Court to allow the National Identification Authority to continue with its registration exercise. In a statement of case filed on behalf of the AG's office, Mr. Dame argues the Ghana card will be needed in the upcoming voter registration exercise. Two citizens, Mark Oliver Kevo and Emmanuel Okra, are in court asking that the NIA be stopped from carrying out its registration exercise. Court correspondent Joseph Akable joins us with more. Joseph, first, we know the High Court had earlier granted an injunction. How is the AG's office arguing this one differently?
And so the AG's office makes the point that the National Identification Authority is not one of the institutions that the president mentioned that they ought to close down. And so as far as they are concerned, it's not captured under the prohibitions that can proceed to carry out the registration exercise. The AG's office again makes the point that the Ghana card, which is being issued by the National Identification Authority, will be needed as a source identification document for Ghanaians who will be participating in the voter registration exercise to be undertaken by the EC later on. And so restraining the Ghana card or the NIA from going ahead with registration will mean that that particular process will be hampered once the EC begins its compilation of a new voters register. So on that basis that they make the point that the NIA should be allowed to proceed to carry out the registration that is currently ongoing in the Eastern region.
Right, we understand the Deputy AG wants this application to be heard immediately. Tell us more.
In fact, the application for injunction was filed by Mark Oliver Kevo on Thursday. They continued with the consent on Friday. Normally, it should take a period of 14 days where the individual who has sued enters a response and they have the case heard in court. But the Deputy AG has also made an application for an abridgment of time, which is simply asking the court to hear the case earlier than usual. And so they fixed the date for Thursday, saying that instead of looking at 2 weeks to hear this particular case, it's an important matter that must be dealt with immediately. So we want to come on Thursday for it to determine as to whether or not it's legal to allow the National Identification Authority to continue with this registration exercise or not, Daniel.
Thank you, Joseph, for those updates. Now, coming up in business, hotel managers uncertain about the future as coronavirus outbreak brings their businesses to near collapse. Daryl Kwao has those details in business after this.
Hello everyone, it's time for business. My name is Daryl Kwao. Hotel managers are anxious about the future of their businesses as the coronavirus pandemic knocks them out of operations. Some hotels have already started laying off staff as occupancy rate drops. My colleague Charles Aite has visited the Marriott Hotel in Accra to learn how the business is surviving in these challenging times.
Empty chairs, lonely pools, dull conference halls. This is what you see upon visiting the Accra Marriott Hotel. This is unusual but expected as the coronavirus pandemic escalates worldwide.
It's been tough. Business has been really bad. We're almost in single digits now.
For hotel managers like Frank Eduardo, this unexpected lean season has left hotels with no option but to cut down the costs.
Currently, we haven't laid anybody off, but we predict that people will start going on leave soon, so that it gives the operation the time to recover. But as you can see, there's business is very low. So if you have say single-digit percentage, and you have over 100 staff, then the ratio doesn't match, and it costs a lot. There's electricity, there's water bills, there's so many things that have to be paid for. So it just makes sense that the numbers are reduced.
The hospitality sector is the most exposed when it comes to the transmission of the coronavirus. Marketing and communications manager for the Accra Marriott Hotel, Frank Eduardo, says even though exposure is rife, security has been beefed up for staff and guests.
We have put measures in place that help. So for example, everybody knows that every 20 minutes they have to wash their hands, right? It's not something that we take lightly. Every 20 minutes go wash your hands for 20 seconds. Because the virus, would still be on your hands or will not be completely killed if you don't wash for 20 seconds. So that education is going down, and it's going down very well. And we are encouraging all department heads to make sure that is being done. And aside that, we have, as you said, you don't talk about sanitizers, but they are very important at this time. So there are sanitizers everywhere. Before you enter the hotel, you have to sanitize, and you come in. And the good thing is that we're looking at your travel history. There are a few questions we ask you when you get to the front desk to see where you've been. So that in case there's anything, we have the ready available information for the health workers. So we're doing our best to make sure that everything goes well, following all the guidelines that have been set out to make sure that your stay is comfortable.
Well, there's a lot of bad news going around in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic, but could there be a good side to this situation and who is benefiting? We'll be hearing from the CEO of Delex Finance, Ken Thompson, in the next hour when we bring you the marketplace. Here's a bit of what he said.
There'll be some, but there are very few winners. if you look at the telecom sector, I mean, there are a lot of people going to be at home, so they're going to stream. But even when I think about that, my warning to those out there that are streaming is that in a recession, this is time to conserve cash. Don't sit at home and be on your Facebook and be on Netflix, because once your cash runs out, there's no more cash coming in. So potentially there will be more companies in the telecom space. Potentially companies that do digital finance, companies that are able to sell their products digitally, also could be winners.
Okay, good.
But this is a time to conserve cash. This is a time to conserve cash. And I can't say that enough. This is a time to conserve cash.
There's more coming up on the marketplace at the top of the hour. Thanks for watching. Sports is up next.